Hello and welcome. Thank you for volunteering to build with Habitat for Humanity PEI. Your team, along with many others, will be helping Habitat provide affordable housing for many island families. This short instruction video will guide you through the process of building a Habitat baby barn. You will also be provided with an instruction booklet that you should use during the actual build process as a reference and a guide. The most important part of all Habitat builds is that everyone have fun. Part of having fun is working safely. Please make sure that you and your team know how to use the tools found on the worksite. If you have a question about the use of a tool, find a Habitat volunteer and ask them to show you how to use the tool correctly. And let's not forget the most important safety tool, your safety glasses. Okay, let's get started. The first thing you'll want to do after you arrive on this job site is to verify that you have all your materials. Consult your instruction booklet for a material list, then verify that all the materials in the instruction booklet are on your build site. If you find that you are missing something, or if you run out of something during the build process, ask one of the Habitat volunteers to show you where you can find extra supplies. Remember not to take supplies from another build site, as that team will need all their materials when they start. Select two straight 2x4s, 8 feet long, lay them side by side and mark out the locations of the floor joists. Floor joists should be 24 inches apart, and it is important that the center of the middle joist be exactly 48 inches from one end. Obtain the 5 2x4 joists. These will likely be 8 feet long. You will need to cut them to 93 inches. You can now assemble your floor. You will need to spread out your two 2x4 by 8 foot pieces. Place the 5 joists between them. Carefully line them up both on the top and the bottom as well as with your marks, and nail everything together using 3.5-inch nails. Verify your floor is square by measuring both diagonals. These should both be the same. If they are not, push the floor until they are. Obtain a sheet of 3/4 inch OSB. This will be the thickest OSB on your worksite. Place the OSB on your floor so one edge lines up with the center of the middle joist and the side lines up with the side of the floor. Nail it in each corner. Place the second piece of OSB on your floor and push it tightly against the first one. Nail it in each corner. Recheck that the floor is square, then finish nailing the floor. Obtain two 2x4s, 8 feet long, place them side by side. Measure in from one end 2 feet. This will be the center of the first stud. The center of the second stud will be 48 inches or 4 feet from this point. This is a very important measurement as it will affect how the door fits. Obtain 4 67-inch studs and nail the front wall together using 3/4 inch nails. Remember to recheck that the center two studs are 4 feet apart, center to center. The back wall is similar to the front wall with the exception that we have 5 studs. Mark the stud locations 24 inches apart, obtain 5 studs and nail your wall together. You can now stand up your front and back walls. Place them on the floor and carefully line up the bottom with the edge of the floor. Nail them to the floor. You can also use a piece of strapping to hold them upright until you have finished the sidewalls. Carefully measure the distance between the front and the back walls. Do this measurement on the floor so that you get an accurate measurement. You should get approximately 89 inches. Anywhere close to that is okay. To build the sidewalls, you will need to obtain 4 2x4s and cut them to the length you just measured. On each wall, mark out the locations of the 5 studs 24 inches apart. Then obtain 10 67-inch studs, 5 per wall. Carefully lay them out and nail each wall together using 3.5-inch nails. Now you can stand up your sidewalls. Place the sidewall between the front and the back wall. Stand it up. Make sure that the base of the wall lines up with the edge of the floor and nail it to the floor. Line up the sidewalls with the front and the back wall and tack nail them together. You will want to make sure that all the walls are square before you finish nailing these walls together. Once you have the 4 sides up, check that the building is square. both that the floor is square as well as all four walls are square. Once they are square, finish nailing them all together using 3.5-inch nails. Obtain a sheet of 7/16 OSB. Place it against the side so that it is even with the top of your wall and nail it along with a few nails. If the wall is square, you will see that the spacing of the OSB along the vertical edge will be equal. If it is not equal, push the building so that it is and nail the OSB across the rest of the wall. You may need to rip a sheet of OSB down the center to get a 2 foot by 8 foot piece of OSB. Please check to see if this has already been done for you by the Habitat Barn Build organizers. If not, carefully cut the OSB into two 2-foot strips, one for each side of the building. Nail the 2-foot piece of OSB to your studs, making sure that you put the painted uncut edge upwards and tight against the edge of the other sheet. Once both sides have been sheathed, you can now move to placing the trusses on the roof. Start from the front of the shed and measure back 24 inches and mark the location of each truss. Start with the front and back trusses. These two trusses will already have sheathing nailed onto them. Place the front truss on the top of the front wall, measure each of the overhangs and adjust the location of the truss so it is centered. Then nail it down. Continue placing the other trusses every 24 inches, making sure that they are also centered, and nail each of them down. You can place a piece of strapping across the tops of the trusses to hold them all up straight. Attach a piece of 1x4 strapping to the ends of the trusses to create a fascia board. You can now begin sheathing the roof. Place a 4x8 sheet of OSB on your roof, but be careful as you lift it up as it is very heavy. Make sure that everything is square, then nail the sheathing to the trusses. You will also need a 7-inch by 8-foot long piece of OSB to finish off the roof. This may have been pre-cut for you, so please check before cutting a new piece. If you do need to cut a piece, be careful as you cut it. Once you install the 7-inch piece, it is okay if there is a small gap at the peak, as this will be covered with shingles. Once the roof is sheathed, you can sheathe the front and back walls. The back is sheathed in the same manner as the sides were. Just make sure that the first piece is pushed up against the sheathing of the back truss. The front wall requires two 2-foot by 6-foot sheets of OSB. These will have been pre-cut for you. Make sure that when you put these two pieces on the front, you leave an opening that is 48¼ inches wide. This width is very important so that the door will fit properly. Trim out your shed using pieces of 1x4 trim. You can then shingle the barn's roof. Please refer to the instruction booklet for details about how to do this. Shingling a small barn is very easy to do once you get the hang of it. Your instruction booklet will help you understand this further, but if you have any questions, please ask one of the Habitat volunteers on site. You can now install the doors. Obtain a set of doors and hold them in the door opening. Carefully screw the hinges 8 inches from the top and 8 inches from the bottom, making sure that you keep the hinges nice and straight so the door will swing freely. You can also install the door catch at the top of the door. Please place a few pieces of scrap wood under the front of your barn so that the movers can lift the barn up and carry it off to its new home. Before you pack up for the day, have one of the Habitat volunteers come by and go over the check-off list to make sure that no steps have been missed. Congratulations, that completes your barn. Once again, thank you for volunteering your time and energy. You are helping to make PEI a better place for our Habitat families.